the package of Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler. Once again, this television facility that they have, and these guys that work there that you never see, and it's not their fault whether the creative is bad or whether this finish sucks or that whatever the fuck. Especially in the direction that they're given, nobody comes close to this shit. And it just widens the gap between them and All Elite. Even, I mean, All Elite, yes, has some cool looking shit with the Darby Allin videos, but this is another fucking level. And anybody that's ever had any experience working in any variety of television or film work can see that. But also, this package, I could believe these girls. It wasn't fake or silly. The things they were saying, they said with as much feeling as you. Shayna Baszler she's still green, and she has a surprisingly pleasant voice for somebody, especially the look she has when she's got her mouth guard in. She doesn't talk like a badass or anything, but you believe them. You believe they are who they purport themselves to be, and that they mean what they're saying. And in this package, that's the packages I love from this company, when they have something like that to build around. And, then of course they cover, she's got to have the fucking truck. I can see Vince saying, nah, she got to drive up the truck, pal. If there weren't any cheers from the audience, but the announcers couldn't even go nuts. It was just like layout. Let's just see a fucking truck and honking the horn and she drives it and gets, that was flat to me. Maybe the announcers could have brought it up if they were VOing it. If they were, am I the man? Try and get a psychological advantage on Shayna Baszler by pulling up in the fucking 18-wheeler, blah, 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 something. Rather than just the night was dark and the moon was yellow and the leaves came tumbling down in this deathly still parking lot, right? I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Well, we've learned from this WrestleMania weekend that it takes a lot for the announcers to get fired up, and sometimes they do it moments where you wouldn't expect it, and other times, let's just say, a brawl that goes over a half hour, they start whispering. So, I mean, you never really know what's going to happen in this Michael Cole-produced era of WWE commentary.
We'll get there. Let me put some people over here first before we get there and start tearing them back down. But oh my fucking the fucking Masters tournament announcing. But anyway, Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch. This was the match of the night to me. I can from the time and now remember the announcers, sometimes I tuned them out because I would skip most of the entrances, and that's where they're identified, and all the except for JBL and Cole sometimes, although some of the youngers sound like Cole, but I know who they are. Sometimes I don't know who the fuck they are. The ring announcer is dressed like an idiot, but he did a good job. Announcing, but when Brian last and there's no cheers or anything, it just hangs there. But anyway, I can buy Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch. The look, the facials, their demeanor, their body language when they came out, they automatically went into a great striking exchange at the open. They got into it. They were working stiff and working the loud shots and laying them in. I don't want to spoil too much of the magic for people that actually can do it right. But yes, they were hitting each other hard, but they were hitting each other hard in places that are more conducive to make noise and less conducive to cause injury. But when you're swinging like that, there's always the potential that you're not going to fucking land on the bullseye every time. So I give all the respect in the world to him. This is where the color guy annoyed me. Who was the fucking color guy on this match?
If it wasn't Cole and JBL, it would have been Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton.
Oh, God. Well, whatever. He was another guy that sounded like it was a fan's voice from their basement calling a VHS tape. But I wrote, this worked for me. It was a stiff athletic contest. It wasn't a grudge fight like Elias and Corbin where they went through the fucking motions. These girls intimidated me more than the fucking guys just did. And I think with people in a stadium, this would have torn the fucking house down. So I hate it for some of these guys, mostly girls, that fucking overachieved that they didn't have that, but they overachieved in an environment that was even more challenging than in a stadium, which was having nobody at all. But I mean, the Baszler swinging Becky into the desk a couple of times, but they weren't diving off the top rope in an empty building and etc., where it was a more violent, tight, snug, more intimate thing. The big moves are for the big buildings. But since they've just got the cameras on them, the people that benefited were people who knew how to sell facially and knew how to throw shit tight in the right places to make noise for the camera or for the microphones on the cameras, and to have their shit look good for the close-up camera rather than working for a stadium. Those are the ones that benefited. I wrote at the time for Becky and Shayna, this is the best empty arena match that I've seen. But then, and suddenly, and it's gone. The finish came completely out of fucking nowhere. The announcers weren't building it. It didn't look like the match was building it. It just fucking happened. And at that, I think Shayna Baszler either should have gone over or gotten some heat afterwards and left her fucking laying. Because I thought that just, it seemed to be something that they could have done and got Shayna Baszler over without taking Becky Lynch down any at that point. But that just kind of boom, and then Shayna just kind of twinkle toes on off into the sunset.
I completely agree. It seemed like, the match was building and then it just ended. And we'll talk about this again with the other match, which I thought was the highlight of night 2. I questioned the finish. I questioned who went over. And I mean, it didn't leave you wanting to see more of Shayna and Becky, although it didn't really say that this was the end of Shayna and Becky.
That's the thing. Whoever pulled for that finish, I can hear the reasoning being because, it comes out of nowhere. She rolls her up. It takes advantage of Shayna's inexperience because Shayna's, used to the cage fighting or whatever the justification was for how they got there. But it wasn't a good finish to either, as you said, either build a rematch, make you want to see more, or if that was supposed to be the end of it and Becky was supposed to, just got even with her, it didn't really do that either because it was just out of nowhere and kind of boom, 1, 2, 3, and then, So it didn't work for me, but it was a little pitchy for me, dog.
I miss Shayna having her crew. What was it? Jessamine Duke and the
the other one. And why is that not happening?
Vince probably doesn't get it. Why does she have friends? She's a loner. She bites people on the neck.